Every full moon, someone in the house died, completely drained of blood. Wow. Welcome to The Explainer, everyone. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today because we're unpacking a story that is, well, it's as fascinating as it is deeply unsettling. We're going to construct a clear understanding of this chilling tale of betrayal, supernatural horror, and ultimate vengeance. If you appreciate a mystery that slowly peels back its layers to reveal something entirely unexpected, you are definitely in the right place. So, let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. The source material we're examining today is titled The Blood Pact of Rakhtbeej. And what starts out as an intimate, locked-room medical mystery pretty rapidly spirals into an all-encompassing supernatural nightmare. Throughout this explainer, we're going to logically track the progression of the horror, map out the timeline of the victims, and ultimately dissect the dark mechanics of the revenge plot that drives this whole thing.
Section 1. The Mysterious Illness.
You know, the foundation of this story actually isn't laid with some monster jumping out of a closet. It starts with a deeply human, agonizing struggle. The text establishes this incredibly tense, claustrophobic atmosphere right from the jump. Picture this, it's almost 2 a.m. The house is completely silent, except for the ticking of an old wall clock. In a dark bedroom, we find our primary focus, a young girl named Niharika. She's lying on her bed, just utterly motionless. She's exhausted but can't sleep, tears endlessly rolling down her cheeks. Our source describes this heartbreaking moment where she weakly whispers for water, and her cousin, Anu, wakes up to help her. But Niharika is so devastated by whatever is happening to her body that she can't even hold the glass properly. Half the water just spills right onto her clothes.
And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer physical horror of her situation. Just look at these symptoms from the text. This isn't just a bad fever or a common sickness, right? Her skin is described as lifeless and almost gray, like every single drop of blood has been slowly siphoned away. She looks less like a living patient and honestly more like a corpse that's actively decaying while she still breathes. As the narrative progresses, it escalates to actual rotting flesh and horrifyingly literal worms crawling beneath her skin. This establishes incredibly high stakes right off the bat. It's visceral, it's graphic, and it absolutely forces us to ask, what in the world could possibly cause a human body to degrade like this?
The sheer despair of her condition is perfectly captured in this agonizing question she asks her cousin. She says, "What sin did I commit? Why is my life like this now?" It really paints Niharika as this innocent victim of a cruel, totally inexplicable fate. She even mentions that death would be kinder than the pain she's enduring. And the adults in the house? They're equally baffled. Anu's father, Mahesh, actually brings in a brand new doctor to examine Niharika. The doctor's reaction is super telling. He just frowns and admits he has never seen a condition like this before, noting she looks dangerously close to death. The mystery is fully established. Medical science has failed here. So what comes next?
Section 2. The Night Terror.
This is where the narrative sharply pivots from a grim medical drama directly into the realm of supernatural horror. To understand this shift, we've got to look at the catalyst. What actually terrified the midnight nurse? Well, the doctor had assigned a nurse to monitor Niharika overnight, but by the evening, while simply trying to feed Niharika dinner, the nurse suddenly collapses unconscious onto the floor. When she's revived by Anu, the nurse is just trembling. She whispers that she saw something, a shadow moving around Niharika's bed. Crucially, the source text notes she says it didn't feel human. This encounter is so profoundly terrifying that the nurse immediately calls her husband, flees the house, and never returns. This is our very first major clue that Niharika's illness isn't biological. It's a byproduct of something incredibly dark occupying that room. And that dark presence, it reveals itself to Anu at 1:30 in the morning. Anu wakes up to this horrifying low laugh echoing in the dark, followed by a whisper right in her ear, "Whose blood shall I feast on tonight?" When she looks up, she sees this entity crouched upside down on the ceiling fan. The source gives us a really vivid, terrifying description of the creature, which is named Rakhtbeej. Its body is dark red, it possesses impossibly long nails, and its eyes glow like burning embers. Before Anu can even get a scream out, it jumps, sinking its teeth into her neck. She thrashes silently, and within minutes, she's dead. Every single drop of blood vanished from her body. Then the monster simply disappears back into the darkness.
Section 3. A Pattern of Death.
The next morning, Anu's mother Anita finds her daughter's body, ice cold and completely white. Let's move to the timeline and see how this builds because it's chilling. At 0 hours, the nurse spots the shadow and flees. Roughly 4 hours later, at 1:30 a.m., Anu is brutally drained of her blood, but But guys, the horror doesn't stop there. Anita soon realizes a terrifying pattern. Every terrible event in their house has occurred on the night of the new moon. Fast forward exactly 30 days to the next new moon. Mahesh, Anu's father, was supposed to return from an out-of-town trip. Instead, an ambulance arrives carrying his corpse. Just like his daughter, his body has been completely drained of blood. The timeline absolutely proves this is a methodical, calculated extermination.
Now, with only Anita and Niharika left alive in this cursed house, we arrive at the most chilling visual of the entire story. Niharika barely looks human anymore. Her skin is completely decayed, parts of her face are literally collapsing inward. Yet, strangely enough, she is smiling. Why was Niharika rotting yet smiling? It's this wild paradox that begs to be answered. She looks right at her terrified Aunt Anita, who's sitting by her bed, and delivers a line that changes the entire context of the story. She says, "Tonight, it's your turn."
Section 4. The Dark Truth Revealed.
This is where the narrative just explodes, flipping everything we thought we knew about the victim and the villains completely upside down. So the crucial point is understanding the dual nature of the crimes committed here. On one side, we have the very human, deeply cynical crime of the aunt and uncle. Niharika reveals she knew their secret all along. They murdered her parents. They staged a fatal car accident purely out of greed. If Niharika died before turning 18, her inheritance would revert to them. That is the inciting incident. But on the other side, look at Niharika's response. Denied conventional justice, she commits a supernatural crime of unimaginable extremes. She didn't just hire an assassin. No, she summoned a demon. She sacrificed her own body and ultimately her soul to Rakhtbeej to guarantee their absolute destruction.
Section 5. Anatomy of a Blood Pact.
As Rakhtbeej literally manifests in the room dripping with blood behind a terrified Anita, we finally understand the terrifying logic behind Niharika's mysterious illness. The source text outlines this brutal transactional mechanism at play. Let's walk through these steps, because it's fascinating. Step 1. The pact is made. Niharika, desperate for revenge, agrees to the demon's terms. Step 2. This is the crucial revelation. Surrender your flesh. Niharika wasn't actually suffering from a disease at all. Her rotting flesh, the worms, the gray skin, that was the currency she was paying to keep the demon in our world. She was literally being consumed alive as a down payment. Step 3. The demon claims the targets. First Anu, then Mahesh, and finally, right there in the room, Anita, draining every last drop of blood from her screaming body. And then, Step 4. The contract concludes. The demon claims your soul.
With Anita dead, the revenge is finally complete. The screaming stops. The source describes Niharika closing her eyes peacefully. She grabs a photograph of her murdered parents, holds it super tightly against her ruined chest, and with tears streaming down her face whispers, "I kept my promise, Mom, Dad." And with her final breath, she dies. The pact is completely fulfilled. Rakhtbeej has claimed his final payment. It is an incredibly poignant, heartbreaking image that contrasts so sharply with the grotesque horror we've witnessed up to this point.
Which really leaves us with this final, lingering thought to consider. The text forces us to look at the ashes of this family and ask, when absolute justice demands everything you have, your body, your future, and even your soul, is the cost of revenge ever truly worth it? I mean, Niharika got exactly what she wanted, but the price was absolute annihilation. It's a truly chilling reminder of the destructive nature of vengeance, meticulously constructed in this fascinating source text. Thank you so much for joining me to explore the dark and structured world of the Blood Pact of Rakhtbeej. Keep analyzing, keep questioning, and I'll see you next time.